What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Blakeney, aka Brandon Lee TV. Welcome back to the Live with Brandon Blakeney podcast. Y'all know we got another banger for you, so kick back, relax, and come take a ride with your boy. We end a just marvelous, record-breaking, exciting, storyline-filled, emotional women's college basketball season. South Carolina, Dawn Staley, the standard in the NCAA now, officially take home another championship, undefeated, 37-0, defeat in a rematch, defeat Caitlin Clark in Iowa. Caitlin Clark on the other side, back-to-back national championship games, back-to-back years, they come up short. South Carolina has been dominant. We've been expecting this all season for the most part, at least since the first month, after they proved that they were the hunted and not the hunters, even though they was out here smacking folks, man. But this is just wonderful for Dawn Staley. A lot of people are going to be upset that they took this title, man, for a lot of different reasons. Very emotional, very physical game. It was a lot. It was a lot to take in, man. We've had the comments from Coach Dawn Staley about the trans athletes that have been going on. Gabby Marshall getting death threats for Iowa. Then we finally get to the game, man. And Iowa had an incredible start, the start they wanted. South Carolina, that size, it was a lot to deal with. And Iowa didn't really have an answer on the glass, man. Didn't quite make enough three-pointers. And it's a heck of a way for the year to end, man. We had Coach Dawn Staley. It's just been so much love and respect between teams, man. We had Coach Dawn Staley showing love to Caitlin Clark and vice versa, and it's just big respect on both sides. But before we get into all that and hear from the latest and the greatest, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button to stay up to date and join our memberships. We got that exclusive content coming daily, weekly, whenever you need it. Now, let's get into it.
You are now locked into the Live with Brandon Blakeney podcast. Here is your host, Brandon Blakeney.
South Carolina wins another double-digit game, man, like they've done throughout this tournament, taking the win 87-75 over Iowa, getting their revenge. The revenge tour had its last stop, and it has been successful. We saw how Coach Dawn Staley was emotional. Aaliyah Boston out there, just very emotional, all emotional for this team. Raven Johnson, we know what this game meant to her, and Bree Hall getting back after losing in the Final Four. I told y'all, man, it felt like this team had a different level of focus this season, a different level of intensity. They were locked in from game one and proved they passed every test. They took every team's best shot. They get back and they end it with the redemption win against Caitlin Clark. Now, Iowa got off to the start they needed to. Clark had 18 points in the first quarter. She was out here going crazy. It was the start that they needed, and it was just, they were firing on all cylinders, man. They were moving the basketball. They were hitting threes. They were just getting out in transition. The upbeat tempo of the game, the pace was just like a racetrack, man. They were getting up and down that court, and I don't think you could have asked for a better start for Iowa, but I don't think you could have asked for a better finish from South Carolina. Looking at the breakdown, South Carolina shot an impressive 35 of 73 from the field, 47.9% compared to Iowa's 39.7%. Iowa did hit 9 tray balls, something that we saw this year, though. South Carolina only hit 4 in the game last year. They double up on that, 8 of 19 for 3. Iowa, as I predicted, tried to go with that zone, man. Bree Hall, Tahina Powell, Raven Johnson was lighting it up from 3, and they busted that zone wide open. They outshoot Iowa from 3, 42.1% to 39.1%. Big shots. Sydney Falter was one who had a few good looks. They just did not fall. They didn't make as many three-pointers as they needed to make, man, to win this game. They had it for a while, though. That first half was good. The third quarter, they fought hard. They made shots. They did not make enough of the open looks. They were getting open looks, though. Caitlin Clark was dishing that rock, and there was just some bunnies that, honestly, both teams left right at the rim. Hannah Stokey left a couple of points out there, man, but All overall, man, very highly effective offensive game for both sides. Efficient. Coaches made adjustments, but South Carolina just made more shots. Now, two things people keep, getting on me about, and I keep saying it, man. The free throw shooting. South Carolina losing the free throw battle and the turnover battle, which they have for a few games now. Luckily for them, it did not cost them because they're so dominant on the glass. But 52.9% from the line, I'm just saying, compared to Iowa's 80%, Iowa goes 16 of 20 for the free throw line. They definitely were getting a lot of those early whistles. It kind of evened out later in the game. South Carolina, though, the size, man. Chloe Kitts, Camila Cardoso, Ashlyn Watkins, Sanaya Fagan. Too much size. Dominate the glass, 51-29. Iowa had no shot, man. I mean, it was a bunch of one-shot possessions for them. Too much size, a lot of second-chance points for South Carolina that helped them extend this lead, gain the lead, and extend it further. And they just never looked back, man. 8 blocks. Camila Cardoso was a force out there in the paint. 8 steals. Caitlin Clark got her pocket picked a couple times. Raven Johnson was hounding her, man. I'm telling you, South Carolina does pick up 17 fouls. It was a big first half for Clark, man, to be honest, like 18 quick ones. She cooled off in the second and the third quarter, though. It's just a testament of the defense, man. They had Bree Hall on her initially. They switched and put Raven Johnson on her, and she was getting hounded. Raven Johnson picked her pocket a couple times and made things difficult. Clark still finished with a 30 ball, 5 assists. She could have easily had 10 assists, man. There were a few missed layups that she just dropped dimes on opponents, man, and they weren't able to capitalize on the layup in transition. I think Hannah Stokey played solid, but only 3 rebounds. Not much she could do. It was a lot of ball watching going on from her, man, when they were competing on the glass. I got to be honest. Call a spade a spade. She did have 11 points. She blew a couple of layups. And I also think, man, South Carolina did a really good job in transition with Fagan as well as Cardoso getting down the court. Because Stokey is really good in transition, beating other bigs down the court. And I knew that would be an X factor for this game, man. So they did a good job of limiting the transition points. But she also just smoked a few layups. Gabby Marshall, 6 points, 1 assist, 3 rebounds. For the top defender. They had her out there trying to check Malaysia Full Wiley. Boy, it was a long night, but she did finish with 6 points, 1 assist, 3 rebounds to end a successful college career for her. One of the best class, probably the best class to ever come through Iowa with her, Kate Martin, and Caitlin Clark, Molly Davis. Like, this class is just special. Kate Martin was hooping, man. 16 points. 5 rebounds. She was down there banging. She had a different matchup every time down. It felt like she was out there banging against Chloe Kitts, trying to get rebounds, trying to get boards. But it was too much size out there, man. But she played big. Sydney Falter came in, 12 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. One of the leading returners for this group next year. They're going to need her to continue this stellar play and just be effective because she's going to be the best leading guard that they have coming back next season. Addison O'Grady, not really a factor in this contest. 2 assists, 2 rebounds. I thought if one of these bigs, if just one of them could step up and make some plays and at least be a factor on the boards, it would be a big deal for Iowa, man, and go a long way. We saw like AJ Ediger, Sharon Goodman, like there were Iowa bigs that just didn't get any playing time, and I guess Coach Bluter felt like they weren't gonna bring much to the table, man. But Chloe Kitts was down there eating, man. 11 points, 10 assists, 2 assists, a double-double in 17 minutes, man. Her shot-making ability, her ability to follow shots as well, getting 10 rebounds, out-rebounding, Iowa individually as far as, like, nobody on Iowa had more than 8 rebounds. Caitlin Clark led them in rebounds. Chloe Kitts had 10. Cardoso, major, 17 rebounds, 15 assists, 15 points, 2 assists. She was not going out with a loss in her last game. She has been dominant this entire tournament and looked dominant. I mean, 6'7" is just a lot to deal with, man. Hannah Stokey had no answers for that. Chloe Kitts, like we mentioned, like that front court duo really, really produced at a high rate for South Carolina. They made threes, but they also stuck with their bread and butter, which is getting that rock in the paint. And it was like Kitts and Cardoso was out there playing volleyball, just smacking it off the glass. and it was too much size down there, man. Too much length. Raven Johnson, 3 points, 3 assists, 5 rebounds. Just manning the ship when things were getting sporadic. She was doing her point guard due diligence, bringing the ball up, resetting, keeping everybody calm, and getting them into their sets. So love to see that. Tahina Powell, 14 points, 2 assists in her first national championship action. She comes in, and we've been talking about how she's been one of the biggest additions on any team in the portal so far this season, and she continues to just add a different element with her shooting and her playmaking as well, man, and just poise and leadership for this group. The vet, Bree Hall, didn't play a whole lot, 18 minutes, but she had 7 points as well. Tessa Johnson, man. We know Malaysia Fulwali gets a lot of the headlines, NIL deals, and deservingly so. She's special. Tessa Johnson, not as flashy on the court. Game isn't as exciting, but she gets the job done, man. She's another shooter, led the team in scoring off the bench, 19 points, and she's had a couple consecutive really, really good games in this NCAA tournament. She's shot the ball with confidence and really, really come alive, man. Provides a much-needed spark for this team off the bench. She can guard multiple positions. She's tough on the rebounds. She's scrappy. She fights for the 50-50 balls, and she can absolutely light you up if you do not get a hand in her face. Tessa Johnson, man, the future's bright. You know what I'm saying? The Iowa, they're going to have some players coming back, but I don't see them getting back here next year. South Carolina is primed for another run, man. When you got your freshman leading you in scoring, Sanaya Fagan was amazing in this game. Just the minutes that she played were super productive. She came up with 6 big points, and when South Carolina needed a boost, man, because Iowa was pushing them, and they needed their bench players to really level up. Iowa didn't get much production from their bench at all. So those 6 points from Fagan, those rebounds, her being able to provide that versatility and another big body in the paint was major. Malaysia Fulwali, 9 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. She was out there taking it to the cup. And, man, poor Gabby Marshall was out there getting abused. But, hey, shout out to her for competing. Ashlyn Watkins, after the 20-rebound game, wasn't really huge in this game. She picked up some fouls as well. 3 points, 1 assist, 5 rebounds. But they didn't need her to be elite today, man. She bothered some shots, and she does what she does, man. She's going to come and bring that energy. She's going to compete. She's a dog, you know what you're getting out of her, man. But Kitts, Cardoso, Powell, Tessa Johnson, all scoring in double figures, all making big plays for South Carolina. It's been a team effort this whole year. Balanced. They go 9 deep. They got 9 starters on this roster. They're bringing a ton of talent back next year. And it just shows, too, man. Just Dawn Staley has, been criticized a lot. She's been one of the faces of women's college basketball. And she continues to show love even at the pinnacle of her season. She talks about Caitlin Clark while she's, celebrating with her team.
I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport, and it just is not going to stop here on the collegiate tour. But when she is the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft, she's gonna lift that league up as well. So Caitlin Clark, if you're out there, you are one of the GOATs of our games, that we appreciate you.
For Caitlin Clark, back-to-back player of the years, has elevated women's college basketball to never-seen heights before. Record-breaking games, millions of views, eyeballs just following her around. I mean, she is a household name, superstar, megastar, and I agree with Coach Dawn Staley. I think she does the same for the WNBA as well, and she definitely appreciated the kind words from Coach Staley.
I think anytime somebody like Coach Staley is able to recognize you and what you did for the game is pretty special. And obviously she's somebody I, respect so much. I respect what she's done for South Carolina. I respect what she did as a player for our game. And, anytime you can get the praises of her is pretty special. So it means a lot.
Man. It felt like the game was closer than it was, but South Carolina definitely in that second half took care of business, man. I think Iowa, we've seen kind of their pinnacle for right now. You don't really have Caitlin Clark just walking in. every year. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna take some time to rebuild. They lose a big senior class, a lot of production. So we'll see what the future holds for Iowa. For South Carolina, they lose Camila Cardoso. Pretty much bring everybody else back, man. They bring in a really special class as well with Tack McDaniel and Joyce Edwards, the number 2 player in the class in the country. A lot of talent. What's scary about South Carolina, y'all, is that they could even be better next year. That's the really spooky part about South Carolina. You know, one of the only teams to go through the gauntlet, run the table, go undefeated, 37 games, pass every test, and win a national championship. They've been criticized, they've been attacked, they've been loved, they've been uplifted. They've, went through every emotion. They've gone through every emotion with this season, man. And just seeing how they've handled everything with class. They came back after a disappointing loss in the Final Four, replaced 5 WNBA draft picks, and continue to push forward, run the gauntlet, man. People, at first when the season started, man, we were not expecting South Carolina to be here. We were looking at Iowa. We were looking at LSU. We were looking at teams like that, man, that were going to make some noise. Texas. We were looking at teams like that. We knew South Carolina was going to be South Carolina, but with an entire different starting lineup, y'all know how remarkable that is? I mean, that is insane to me. An entire different starting lineup. All these ladies who McDonald's All-Americans could be number 1 options or starters on other teams have completely bought into this system with Dawn Staley. They've bought in and they've sacrificed individual awards, accolades, and accomplishments for national championships, for team awards, for team recognition. They've been, the heavy favorite to take this title for a while, and they did what they were supposed to do today. They've been a tier ahead of everybody else in women's college basketball this year, and they got a lot of talent coming back next year to run it back. Now, I know a lot of other teams are having a lot of talent come in. Juju Watkins, USC, definitely going to be something to watch. UConn, with all that talent coming back and the injuries and players coming back, how they come back, it'll be interesting to see. We'll continue to dive more into the offseason storylines and the biggest ring chasers for next year who can challenge South Carolina. But shout out to the Gamecocks, man. We've talked a lot about them this season. What they've done for the game, what Coach Dawn Staley's done for the game, the way she's elevated it and praises other people that have elevated this game, and just continues to be a class act, man, on and off the court. She gets the statue, she gets another ring, and she's in line for a few more, man. It's definitely looking like South Carolina is peaking into a dynasty right now, with a lot of these players still being underclassmen, man. Tahina Powell agreeing to come back next season. Like, this team is going to be loaded next season, man. You bring Ashlyn Watkins back, Fagan back, Raven Johnson back, Chloe Kitts back. You get Malaysia Fort Wiley, Tessa Johnson back in their, year 2. It's going to be a lot. Bree Hall coming back. I mean, the backcourt is loaded. Then you add in 3 talented recruits as well. Edwards is a player that could give them another whole different dimension with her versatility on the wing. Man, it's a lot going right in Columbia right now. Well deserved, though. Well deserved. Coach Dawn Staley built a juggernaut, and they the champs now. Today ain't the champs no more. I know a lot of people are going to be upset that they won this game. A lot of people are going to be upset. And, what does this mean for Caitlin Clark's argument for the GOAT? Would y'all still consider her the GOAT? Is she in the conversation still? She got Iowa to back-to-back national championship appearances. She is not playing with the elite talent that a lot of these other players are playing with. And that's no shade to Stokey or Kate Martin, because they some hoopers. Gabby Marshall, they some hoopers. They out there doing their thing. But she's not playing with other WNBA draft picks. You know what I'm saying? I still think Caitlin Clark deserves to be mentioned with the elites. What she's done with the game, with the platform, her cultural impact on this game, bringing eyes. I mean, you walk into bars now and people are, put Caitlin Clark on, put women's basketball on the TV, and not on the back TV, on the main screen. Like, it's been a wave that people have been jumping on and riding, and the women's tournament was way more appealing than the men's tournament this season, man. And I think it could be like that going forward. just with the relatability of the players sticking around, us getting used to and building those relationships, and just seeing them progress year after year after year instead of just reloading rosters with one and dones every single year. You know what I'm saying? It was a great year. It was a year of highs, and it keeps getting bigger. People say build it, and they will come. And women's college basketball is the next hottest thing where people are just locked in and tuned in. And I think Caitlin Clark, we're already seeing her impact. I mentioned it in another video. We're already seeing her impact in the WNBA. We're seeing the Indiana Fever's ticket prices double, and she hasn't even been drafted yet. So for those that are saying people won't care about Clark when she goes to the WNBA, hey man, Indiana not that far from Iowa, and I'm sure people are still gonna be locked in. It's the Caitlin Clark effect, and she has nothing to hang her head about, man. One of the greatest college careers that we've ever seen. We will never see another Caitlin Clark, but she will inspire another generation of guards coming into the future. So we'll see, man. But into the season, a great season. The championship game that we expected, that we wanted, did deliver. And until next season, we're keeping y'all updated with the biggest storylines, transfer portal, recruiting news, coaching changes, all that good stuff y'all expect from me. I appreciate it. We've grown so much throughout this season, man. Hit over 1,000 followers. I appreciate y'all rocking with me, liking, subscribing, commenting, and just continuing to share y'all's thoughts and opinions. So let's keep it up. Let's keep it rolling, baby. We on the road to 2,000. You dig? Now, for all the latest and the greatest, y'all make sure to hit that subscribe button. That's a wrap for us. Until next time, I'm Brandon Blakeney, a.k.a. Brandon Lee TV. We out.